All right, wanted to go over a few quick little easy things to give the KLX 300 a little more zip, but first I want to cover two scenarios of guys looking at this bike. One is the guy looking for power, thinking this is a powerful bike. Two is the guy thinking he's going to buy it, throw some money at it, and turn it into a powerful bike. Nope, wrong bike, dude. If you just want to twist the throttle, go fast in a straight line, fast on some wide open terrain, get a DRZ, 450 RL, any of them 500s. They're great at that. Two is the guy who just bought this bike, drove it off the showroom, and thought, holy shit, is this thing gutless? What did I just buy? This doesn't sound like any of the videos that I was listening to. Well, this engine is extremely tight and grainy before it's broke in. And it typically takes about 200-300 miles to break in. And when it does, you'll feel it. It'll run a little quicker, smoother, pull a little harder all the way through the RPM range. My telltale sign was I had to idle at 1,200, and suddenly it just started idling up to about 1,500, meaning the engine was a little freer. So, not being broke in, the airbox being restrictive, and it's geared 3 to 6 teeth too high for use in anybody's situation. Yeah, she's gonna feel like a scooter. So, let's go over this. Just pull that airbox out. That's good for about 1 horsepower. Free. Switch out that 14 to a 13. It's not adding any power, but that puts the gearing out pretty good where the bike's going to feel quicker. And 2 or 3. About $50, you get one of these MX chains, and that's going to add about another horsepower right by itself. So, there you go. $70, 2 horsepower. Bye. I suppose you're still listening. If you want to hear the very long-winded analytics of what I'm talking about, I'll go over that right now. So who I'm going to reference first is the Best Dual Sport channel. I'm sure you guys seen that. So what he was a guy, and he's a dude. He's got his own dyno, does his ECU tuning, puts a lot of great information out, but he's usually a KTM guy. I was really surprised to see him pick up a KLX 300 about a year and a half, 2 years ago maybe now. And he got at it right away. I was excited. He threw on the dyno, completely stock, and he got 26 horsepower, which is telling you his dyno is off. It's high. It's probably why he was getting 65 horsepower with them KTMs. But everyone's dynos vary. But what he did is he took the airbox lid off, threw it back on there, and he got over 27 horsepower. So he got over 1 horsepower by just opening up that airbox. That's what I wanted to know. That's what I like. So if you look now, that video is gone. I don't know if any of you guys ever seen that. I caught it. What it's doing right now is it's conflicting with the tuner he's selling. So he's got a tuner for sale for $250, which at peak horsepower doesn't even get 1 horsepower. So a free mod versus $250 to not even get the same, that conflicts with his business. I get it. I caught it though. What he also does, and some people are doing this, is that secondary throttle plate, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not doing it. And what it did for him is it added 4 horsepower, but only in the mid-range. It still peaked back once the main throttle butterfly was fully open. So I always thought this is what it did. Is it acts like a velocity stack. So it keeps the air pressure smooth in that venturi. And this is the favorite part of my KLX, is how smooth this throttle is off decel, and how good this motor runs at low RPM, how torquey it is and smooth. It doesn't chug, buck, stall. So removing that would kind of, in my mind, take that away. And go to YouTube, I've heard several people say they put theirs back in, and when I asked why, they said their engine ran shitty at low RPM, which confirms my thoughts on that. If you want to do it, great, that's fine. I'm keeping it because I woods ride this quite a bit. Now let's get to that chain. So what I'm going to reference now is way back in my mid-90s MX days. We had our 252 strokes, and everybody ran an MX chain. because they give you a little bit more power. So on the dynos, we were getting about 45 horsepower on them 252 strokes. And it was about a 1 horsepower difference between an O-ring and an MX chain at 45 horsepower. So I'm going to claim a little bit, at least 1. If I couldn't feel it, I wouldn't claim 1. So where I feel this is mainly like 2nd, 3rd, 4th gear at normal acceleration. You can feel the bike just get a little bit more zip. It accelerates a little quicker, less gas. Just because, 1, these things are 1 pound lighter off the bat, and 2, they have 50% less friction without them O-rings in there. And if you take your bike on a stand right now with your stock chain on there, and you did that, that tire wouldn't spin like that. This thing goes another revolution and a half. And that tells you, that confirms everything that I thought and that I felt on here. So now let's talk about the gearing. So I got the 1340 on right now, and my ass has every kind of sprocket you can imagine. I got a 42, a 45. This is all from my previous 250s. So I originally thought I was going to do 1342 because that was the perfect gearing on my 250s. However, I put that on and I instantly thought, well, now it feels slower. It was. The 1340 was actually the quickest. So with this motor being a little bit up in power, the 2 teeth up, you had enough to accelerate off of first, and it didn't run out of steam so fast in first and second like 1342 did. But the biggest thing is 1340 puts 4th, 5th, and 6th gears perfectly aligned with the ratios. So like two-lane road riding, this thing is a hell of a lot quicker with that gearing because you're always staying in that 6,000 to 9,000 RPM range. Now, if you would do that secondary throttle plate removal, it wouldn't have zero effect on this because this gearing is actually spacing you right to where you downshift or upshift to where you're back up to 6,000 before that really made much of an impact. So that's another reason why I'm not doing that. With just the $19 sprocket did it perfectly, in my opinion. Oh my God, I got chains, I got sprockets all over the place. So I got an X-ring by mistake. I had the O-ring, and now I ordered this shit from Rocky Mountain ATVMC, and they sent it to my old address in San Diego and told me to get bent. And 2 months later, I don't know if the person who lived there must have sent it to me, but hey, I got it now. Not really a fan of that distributor anymore. I don't think I'm going to use them. I'm starting to like Motorsport and Revzilla now. So here's another thing I wanted to cover. So if you would do the full stage 1 on this thing, it would be the header pipe, the exhaust pipe, the tuner, airbox lid off, aftermarket filter. And there's a great video of a guy on YouTube right now that's got a dyno with a black 300 SM. And he does all the mods separately and then shows you the numbers to see what each mod does. I think that's excellent information. I love when people do that. So he was getting about 4.5 horsepower more out of here. But realistically, that's going to be about $800 to $1,000 you're going to spend to gain 4.5, where this $70 gets you around 2. I mean, that's that's pretty good numbers to me. And for me wanting to keep this bike quiet, it's perfect. You'll probably hear me squawk about that quite a bit. That's my old, crabby, grumpy ass coming out. I'm getting old. I like quiet bikes now. But I also want to talk about all the bikes that I've done this on. My last 4, CRF 450X, KDX, DRZ 400, YZ 250FX. I did it all on them, and I spent a lot of money on them. And at the end of the day, at my age now, I just think it wasn't worth it. I don't want to tell anybody not to ever do that because I learned a lot and I had fun on them Saturday nights. Instead of going out to the bar getting shit faced, I was tinkering with the bike. I was bolting on stuff that gave me instant results and testing it out, and I was happy. That was some fun times, and I never would have learned the stuff I have now if I didn't do that experience. So I'm not going to tell anybody not to do it. I'm just throwing out some quick, easy ideas. And I think as we get older, you start to look for a bike that doesn't need as much anymore. There's another opinion I got. The more you mod your bike, the less happy you get. You always just keep looking for more and more stuff to do on it. And it's just something that was going through my head the other day. I thought I'd share that. So when you do keep spending all that money on that bike, eventually you turn around and sell it for a bike that fit more of what you're looking for in the first place, and you didn't get any money back on all the aftermarket stuff you spent. So here's another piece of advice. That $800 to $1,000, if you would take that and spend that on a trip, take the bike somewhere, take the bike to the desert in the winter, load it up, go to the mountains in the summer, go on a camping trip with your friends who've got bikes. Those are the memories that I spent the money on, and it always stuck with me instead of $1,000 that I lost and some other guy gained picking it up on the bike. I think if you're a newer rider, in my opinion, instead of spending all that money on that stuff first, I would say just ride the bike and take some trips first. That's the most fun you can have. So next weekend, I'm loading this up in the truck, and I'm actually going out to New Mexico and Arizona for 2 weeks. I lived in San Diego for quite a while. Now I'm back home in Wisconsin and driving down between Tucson and El Paso on 10 all the time. I used to see all that terrain out there that I always thought, man, I want to get the bike out here and see that. So I finally got the time right now, and I'm going to do it. So I might shoot some videos from out there. Nothing much, just me tinkering around. So yeah,